welcome everyone. I appreciate you coming and joining me today while we take a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to be a projector and talk about the conundrums and the blessings and the magic that is inherent in being a projector. I'm Elaine Correia, and I'm going to be your guide today. So before I go too much further, I'd like to get my slides. I'd like to share my slides with you, so hold on. Okay.
I'm seeing your slides.
Can you see my slides?
Yes, I can see your slides.
Perfect. So, are you a projector, or do you know someone who's a projector? So, in our society, projectors can feel like there's something wrong with them, like there's just something different about them. They don't fit in. And we're not like the other 80% of the population, and we operate under a totally different energetic code. So because of this difference, and without being aware of why, it can cause a projector, and actually this applies to a lot of other people too, but we're talking specifically about projectors today. It can cause all sorts of self-doubt and self-criticism and destroy our self-esteem and make us question our lovability. So projectors need several things that are kind of specific to them. They need recognition, and they need a lot of time alone. And one of the things they can do is they can be people pleasers, and they don't know when to stop. And this
Elaine,
is key factor.
I'm
Yes?
sorry, really quick. Lenny was saying maybe your introduction to yourself was cut off before it was on Facebook Live. If you want to just reintroduce yourself and then jump back into what it means to be a projector, so that we know we want to recognize you as who you are.
There we go. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay. So I'm Elaine Correia. I'm actually a 4/6 fire projector. So, and I've learned all of what I'm going to talk to you about the hard way. So, and so yeah, I guess that's the short reintroduction. So let's talk about what it means to be a projector. And my intention with talking to you today about this is to expose and awaken in you the most common challenges, and to help you as a projector or someone who knows a projector or lives with a projector, to help them understand that these challenges and opportunities are really, it's an honor. It's an honor to be a projector, and that we have a big job to do, and we're well qualified to do it. So there's two major conundrums that a projector faces a lot of the time, and they have to do with energy management and waiting. They go hand in hand, and they work together. And from these two aspects stem all sorts of self-worth problems and bitterness and feeling like we're left out or there's something wrong with us. And it's from these two particular things that make us specifically different from the rest of the population that brings about the challenges. So just for a very brief basic review of what is a projector. A projector is someone that is defined in human design as having an open sacral center. Now the open sacral center is that little square box that is just above the root center, right down near the bottom of the chart. So it's open. So that means that instead of having sustainable energy that is constantly being replaced, it's unsustainable. And a projector can have motors. And if you know in human design, there's 4 centers that relate to or are associated with having energy that will further, that will help your ability to be able to create. And one of them is the will center, the solar plexus, and the root center, and of course the sacral. But since the projector doesn't have the sacral, then it's just the other centers. And a projector needs an invitation, and they're here to guide and manage others. So challenges actually equal opportunities. And so some of the challenges that a projector faces has to do with decision making and about sharing the wisdom. I mean, it's like they have lots of ideas, but how do you share it and not be rejected? Their other challenge has to do with timing and waiting, which is a challenge, I think, for everyone. And also the energy management, which actually is a challenge for everyone too, but in particular for people who don't have the sustainable energy. So because of these challenges, they're prone to, having health problems and some burnout issues. And there's interesting dynamics that happen in a relationship, and we're going to talk about that. There's some challenging configurations that I'll briefly discuss that are in the chart. And then, of course, the big thing that a projector needs to do is take care of themselves and listen to their body. So let's jump into some of the interesting concepts that I've learned along the way. And one of them is about decision making. Now, a lot of, the generator types that have a defined sacral center, they have instant response where they can respond to something with like a gut feeling that says, don't want to do this, yeah, no, I don't want to do that, So, but projectors don't have that. And so they have other methods of making decisions. And it depends on how you are defined. So one of them is if the spleen center is defined, then it's called having a splenic authority, where you have an instant gut feeling of what's going to happen or what you need to do. It's more instinctive, it's more gut feeling, it's more in the instant moment, and it doesn't linger. The other center, the emotional solar plexus, will give you an emotional emotional way to make a decision. So in other words, it has to feel good, and it has to feel good over a period of time. The third method, which I know quite a few projectors have this, is it's called self-referred or a mental authority. Now, this is where we get into interesting things, because the self-referred or the mental authority means that you as a projector, you have to talk to somebody. You have to get out what's in your mind and let it bounce off against the world or of another partner. Or even you'll even hear it when it's coming out of your mouth. You say, oh my goodness, I was thinking I was going to do that. That sounds absolutely crazy. So there's problems that run into this because, for one thing, the mental authority sort of like implies that you're using your mind to make a decision. Well, that is a big mistake, because the mind does not make good decisions. The mind is logical, it's there to process information, it's there to ask questions, it's there to think about things, but it's not there to make decisions. And a lot of times, the mind and the heart, they aren't in agreement. And the mind always overrules the heart, because the heart talks with a more silent, a more quieter voice, a more subtle voice. And the mind just overrules everything. So we all face this problem. The mind makes decisions, and a lot of times we kind of regret, the decisions that we made. So just as an example, ask yourself, when did you make a decision from your mind that as soon as you made it, you felt it in your body? It's like, uh-oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. So that's an example. So that is the conflict that happens when you rely on your mind for making decisions. So the other part has to do with talking it out. So this can get tricky too, because unless you are talking to a person who understands that you're just venting, you're like letting out your thoughts so that you can take a look at them in the external world. A lot of people want to help you, and they want to solve your problems for you. And you're not about wanting anybody to solve your problem. You are just trying to get this energy that's inside you out so that you can take a look at it and feel how and see how it looks coming back at you, because that's how that self-referred authority works. And it's kind of nebulous. And the trick that gets involved with this is if you talk about whatever it is with a person and they want to help you in their, even they're going to be coming from their perspective and what's right for them. And it may or may not be what's right for you. And so if you do talk about this, just and they give you advice, then just take it in and kind of let that percolate and see what feels right. The whole theme that I'm working towards with this whole idea of the self-referred mental authority is that the heart is the right place to have your decisions come from, because the heart is what's most closely aligned to your soul's desire, and it will lead you in the direction that is most suitable for you. So does that make any sense to everybody? Anybody have any questions or comments?
We did have a couple questions and comments that came in.
Okay.
In Zoom, Michelle says she's a 3-5 mental projector here. Jill had a question here in Zoom. Do splenic projectors still also need to talk things out with another?
There's, the splenic projector actually has the instant response, but yes, if that instant response goes by, then, and depending on what other configurations are in the chart, talking it out may still help. It's one of those things I think that a projector needs to, they need other people to be able to not only borrow their energy to be able to manifest, but also of all the types, this is my opinion, I think that projectors need people just for that sense of connection and for that being able to bounce ideas off. I mean, I don't know very many projectors who are true hermits that totally operate on their own inner guidance without some sort of an external. Because here we go, and this kind of gets into my next, the next topic is about sharing your wisdom. Are we ready to move on to that?
Can I just recognize some of, we have some projectors on Facebook, and I want to just take a moment to recognize them.
Yes.
Laura said, hi, 5-1 projector here. Lenny Goldberg says hi, and she loves that we're magical, but she's wondering, because part of your introduction is you introduced yourself as a fire projector. Is that going to be part of your talk later on? Because she wants to know how you know you're a fire projector.
Okay, I'll take a little sidetrack right here.
Can I recognize the other ones before you sidetrack?
Yes, please.
Paige says her husband is a splenic authority projector. Sue says we have another 5-1 splenic projector. And Linda is a 5-1 mental projector.
Okay.
And Rohana says I'm a 5-2 mental projector. And I find if I talk out loud to myself at home, of course, it helps to process.
Right. Yeah. The whole self-referred mental is like you got to get it outside of yourself, because inside we can come up with all the most fantastical things, and outside it's like you get a more detached view of whatever it is you're talking about. So yes, there are alternatives to talking to someone. There's writing about it. There's you can record yourself talking about it and then play it back later on and see if it sounds really like a good idea, if it sounds totally bizarre. I mean, so there are a lot of other options to needing to talk with a person, because sometimes a person's just simply not available. And so later on, I'm going to talk a lot more about paying attention to the body. And from what I've found, that even if I don't have a person around to help me make a decision, that learning how to listen to my body and trust what my body has to say is a way of making a decision. Now, there's also a different level here, because see, small decisions like what to eat, where to go today, what route you want to take to drive to work, or where you want to go for a walk, all those things, those are places where actually you can practice really getting in touch with your decision-making processes, your specific ones. And then, once you get those honed down, then when it's time to make a big decision, like, if you want to change your job, or if you want to relocate, or maybe you should, do something in your relationship or whatever it is, then you're more practiced. So
30 seconds, yeah. The rest of them. Sue says, again, I'm a 5-1 splenic projector, and I do listen to inner guidance. At the same time, I'm attentive to the invitation. Lynn says, I'm a 3-5 splenic projector with split definition. Since my ajna and throat are defined, I sometimes need to talk and have the other be a sounding board. Barb on Facebook says, I'm a 5-1 mental projector. Petita says 3-5 emotional projector. Sue says, I'd like to know more about what being a splenic projector means. And then a couple more. It's a very important. We've had lots of projectors come here.
Isn't that great? I honor all of you.
It said, we have Jill as a 3-5 emotional projector, Julie at 2-4 environmental projector here. I think it's 6-2 splenic projector, Linny. Rohan, I'm a 2-4 splenic. Life seems extremely slow for me. And Cheryl, a 4-6 splenic projector. Lovely having all these projectors. Oh, a couple more. Teresa, a 3-5 projector, and Julielle, a 5-2 emotional projector. Welcome. Awesome. Projectors. My goodness, and another one, Robert. But I will leave off with Robert, and then the next break, we will recognize some of the other people that came on. We're going to go down a brief side one about the fire projector and then on to the next part. Right.
Okay, so yes, I'm going to take a brief detour down a little rabbit hole. So I just, by my design, I'm extremely curious, and I've got the gate 48, so I've got to learn about everything, and I've got the gate 1156. So, I mean, you put those two things together, and it's like I have to experiment. And I'm also a 4-6. So, and the 6-line profile, I think, never stops experimenting. They don't have that same quality of experimenting like a 3rd line does, but they always want to experiment. So here it is. So I've studied astrology, and I've studied soul realignment, and I've studied, I've been studying human design, and I put all these things together, and I've discovered that by blending astrology and human design, there are answers that fill in the gaps. So in other words, it's like here I am, I'm a projector, and I'm supposed to wait for an invitation, and I'm supposed to I'm supposed to manage my energy and stuff. But by my astrology configuration, there's no way I can sit still because I've got too much fire in my chart. And so that's what I mean about a fire projector. I can't sit still. So if you had a lot of water in your chart, you would tend to be maybe more quieter, more withdrawn and more emotional, sensitive to the emotional world. If you had more earth in your chart, you would be more stable, more grounded. And if you had more air in your chart, you would be more chatty and more communicative and might flit around quite a bit more and never really settle on anything. So, I mean, these are subtleties that when you blend the two, you get a deeper picture. And that's what I'm all about. I'm all about depth and getting bigger, more, more complete picture. So if anyone's interested,
wonderful quantum alignment show on the elements that I can post after, because I'll have to look for it. But it was a wonderful one. If they want to search, it's in the videos on the Facebook page, or I'll post it.
Yeah. So, and if anyone wants to explore, this combination with themselves, I'm perfectly happy to have a session with you, and it's so much fun to talk about all these things. So speaking of talking, let's move into the next section, which projectors are very good at, but they have to do it in the right way. So, and it's about sharing wisdom. So a projector is here to manage and guide and direct people. And we're very other-oriented. So we know a lot about everyone else, especially the more openness you have in the chart, the more you pick up from other people and you bring it in. The thing about all this wisdom is that then we want to get it out. And we are so wise because one of the places with not having the sacral center defined, that means we take in a lot of different people's energies, their doing energy, their workforce, their life force energy. We take that in. And the more people we're around, we get more variety because everyone's different again. And so we get really wise about how to go about doing things and what needs to be done in the most efficient way. And so we want to share that. Well, the problem is a lot of people don't want to hear it because we just blurt it right out and say, oh, yes, well, this is the way this should be done. And, oh, no, now the way you're doing it is going to take way too much energy. We just know things. So what we have to do is we have to be invited. And that works its way into this whole thing about the art of the invitation. And we will talk about that in a minute. So the thing about sharing wisdom and being recognized is that a lot of times if we don't understand, and especially as a younger projector, we think that, if we don't understand ourselves, we think that we're just like everyone else and we can go off and we can, be noticed and get waited on and whatever it is. Like if you go to the restaurant, have you ever noticed when you go to the restaurant, or you're going to, you're standing at a counter in the store waiting to be waited on, and someone else comes up and they get waited on first. And it's like, wait a minute, I was here first, but why did they get waited on? And it's all about the energy. It's just simply the energy. They may have a motor to the throat. They may just have a different other defining characteristics that they get noticed. So what happens is when we don't get recognized and when we get passed over, then we start feeling ignored. And then, this starts way back when we're young. And pretty soon we think, oh, we're not good enough. And, oh, well, nobody, values me and I'm just stupid. And we start this little inner chatter that goes on and that's not very helpful for ourselves, but we start to withdraw and we start to pull in our aura. So pretty soon we are like energetically invisible and nobody sees us then we don't get recognized. And so what we have to do when we get ignored is, first of all, realize it's nothing personal. It's just simply, it's an energy thing. Our energy does more talking than our words do. And so when we're in an environment, it's our auras are all bumping into each other, and depending on what our auras are telling the other people is how well we will be recognized and acknowledged. And so if we get ignored, then we just need to say, okay, and bless ourselves and say, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just simply, it's an energy thing. And then take a little time to go and build yourself up and say, well, it's an opportunity to bless yourself and to love yourself and to go say and do nice things for yourself and, pamper yourself and to do things like make an altar or something like that that's kind of like your special place, or carry a rock in your pocket that reminds you that you are precious and that you are valuable. Because when you get passed over, the thing is, then we feel like we're not worthy and we're not good enough. And our self-esteem tanks. But it's not true. It's just, this is all an illusion that happens, but it's just the way we tend to respond to being ignored. And so then we do crazy things like trying to get attention, which can be good and can be bad depending on how it goes about. So something else you can do, which is fun to try because projectors are masters at managing energy, is to say, oh, well, I'm being ignored. Well, let's just send my energy out. And just you can deliberately expand your aura to go reach out and touch that person. And then see what happens. I invite all of you to try this. I want you to take what I say and then take it and adapt it to and experiment with it for yourselves. And so, especially all you first and third line people, this is like fodder for the fire for you to go experiment with. So let's talk a little bit before I get into the art of the invitation about timing. So, and that's also part of the art of invitation. So timing is a major component in life, and this is not limited just to projectors. It's really hard to wait for something, and it's tempting to push the invitation for something major. The invitation that you need for something major, like a life change or a job change or a partner change or whatever it is. It's tempting to just ignore the messages and ignore the timing and just go do it. Well, sometimes that works, but many times you end up struggling and you run out of steam and money before the project actually gets off the ground, or you get sick. That's, it's just energy. Here it is. It's all energy again. So you have to trust that everything is happening just as it should, and that and restrain yourself from trying to push the invitation or invite yourself into something that's not really a true invitation. The invitation actually comes from outside of yourself. And when you feel it, it's like when it's the right invitation and you feel it, it's like it just like opens the whole door and energy just flows through you. So that's how you can kind of tell if it's the right thing for you. Because an invitation to one person may not be the right invitation for you. And I want you to, it's hard when you're waiting and waiting and waiting to not jump on the first invitation that comes along. But it's really important that it feels right to you. And it doesn't matter whether you've got solar plexus defined or not. It still has to feel right. It has to feel right energetically through your whole being. So I know about this because I've struggled for years to get what I wanted, and I've only been partly successful, and I've settled for less a lot of the times, and I've done more work than I needed to do, and I've done work that's not fulfilling, and I've spent a lot of money on marketing trainings that just don't work because projectors can't make cold calls. We just can't reach out like that, not just off the cuff. There has to be some sort of an inherent invitation in whatever it is that we do. So we need projectors. We need people to seek us out. And the projectors that I've seen that are the most successful, I don't know how they manage to do it, but people come to them, and they come to them in droves. And it's fascinating to watch. So timing allows all the pieces to fall into place. So a lot of times, and this applies to everyone, but a lot of times a projector will have a super idea. It's like, yes, I want to do this. But they don't have the energy to manifest it. And sometimes, certain people need to come into your life that kind of click together and make it all work. And then sometimes, it's an inner process. You have to let go of something that's holding you back. That some sort of a limiting belief or something that's interfering with you achieving your goal. And sometimes, I hate to admit this, but sometimes you're just not ready or mature enough to handle the consequences of what you want. But these are all factors that go into timing. And you'll know the timing is right when things start to kind of like click inside of you, and you start to feel more alignment between your head and your heart. And inside and outside. And then what'll happen sometimes, a lot of times, is that you'll get what you want, but it won't be what you thought you wanted. It'll be something totally related, but totally different. So it's like having to let go of that attachment of what it is you want and let the universe bring it to you in the way that is best for you. So this is this whole piece about timing, and we can't control it. It's part of our inner growth process. So as we work into this concept of the concept of invitation and waiting, this is one of the factors that plays out. And so we are, as projectors, we are keenly aware that the invitation at the right time opens the floodgates so that we have the energy to do our purpose. And we're here to teach the world about patience and divine timing. Now, that's a pretty tough one, but that's what works for us. So let's talk just a little bit about how to go about the art of getting the invitation. So here you are, you're working with timing, you're waiting, and what are you going to do while you're doing these things? Well, the first thing you have to do is there's kind of like the preparation phase. So I mentioned earlier about how we communicate with our energy more than with our words. So even now, as you're watching this, there's a part of your energy field that is picking up the essence of me as I'm talking. And my words just enhance that. So, it's like there's an invisible communication that is always happening between us. So the first phase of getting the invitation, this is for the big things, the important things in your life, that is that we need to become aware of our energetic state and the vibes we're transmitting. Are they angry and bitter and prickly, or are they warm and inviting and friendly? So we need to become aware of that. And then we need to make sure that our vibes are inviting. So to do that, we have to be rested. This gets back into self-care. We've got to take care of ourselves. We've got to nurture and nourish ourselves so that we are more resilient and we can handle whatever comes along and whatever variation comes along. And so we have to really watch our state of mind and find positive ways of viewing whatever our situation is. And, be grateful for what we have, what's coming to us, and invite and tell ourselves, that we allow ourselves to receive something good today, and do this every day and see what happens. So we also, while we're waiting, can engage in fun, uplifting activities. Do something that's fun. Be with people who support you and uplift you. It's really important because of your energy vibration again. So do what makes your heart sing. So, and that might be writing or gardening or walks in nature or horseback riding or singing or having deep conversations with your partner or somebody that's important with you, or experimenting or studying. I mean, whatever it is that fills you with life, that's really important for you to be doing while you're waiting. I mean, your life still goes on. You're still making little decisions about, where you're going to eat today, what you're going to eat, things like that, when you're going to go to bed, when you're going to get up. Those are all like daily ritual things. But this is like for if you want to make a change in your career or your life or your partner or your just up level your meaning in life, this is when this really comes into play. So the next thing, you need to move your body and raise your chi. Because chi, this is getting back to the elements in the fire, that's what initiates, that's what makes movement. And so if you're dragging your tail and totally exhausted, which happens in burnout, it's really hard to manifest something and attract something in. But if you get up and dance and play and do whatever it is that moves your body that feels really good, then that will stir movement and it will bring about an attraction. So then the other part of this is you have to get noticed. So you can dress for your energy type. Carol Tuttle does a really nice treatise has a program about how to dress for your energy type. You go through the different elements and each person has a particular element that's strongest in them. And so you dress, for your type. So I'm a fire type, so I dress more colorfully. And so where water types or earth types dress more subdued, and it brings out your natural beauty. So you also can engage with people online or in events or, with your family or whoever. You need to be seen, but don't hide. It doesn't mean that you have to go and try to make yourself the life of the party. If you're doing this from the point of trying to have an agenda, trying to be noticed, like that changes the energy and people read it. But if you're just there to have fun and to observe and maybe, talk about what's fun, then people will engage with you more readily. Speak your truth and don't worry about what others think. This is a tough one for everyone, but it's really important because here it is. People read our energy and they know if we are trying to manipulate or deceive them or in fantasy world talk, put a glamour on them to make yourself look like you're better than you really are. Be honest, in other words, and be eccentric and different. It's okay. It's okay. You are different. You don't march to the same drum as most of the population, and acknowledge that and embrace that and let it be. And people will judge you, but here we go again. This takes practice, but you can pretty much start letting that go and say, well, I'm grateful that I am who I am because I have a particular role to play, or whatever it is you have to say to let that go. So another thing that's really helpful is if you have a dog or a pet. I have a dog. I tell you, he opens more conversations for me. I mean, I would never initiate these conversations, but he's out there and he's beautiful and friendly and everybody adores him, and so there's a conversation. So if you have something like that, it's kind of like an external prop that helps get you noticed. That works. Talk about what means, what has meaning for you. And, don't sell yourself. Just simply express your enthusiasm about the topic. And I just read recently that follow your curiosity, because the curiosity takes you to the direction that your soul wants you to go. And it will lead you there step by step. So just follow your curiosity. And the big thing, let go of expectations. Let go of your expectation of timing, of the right, when you want to have this done. Let go of your expectation that you're going to accomplish. I mean, I think, well, I can't really speak so much for other types, but I know for myself that I set out with a goal, which is good, but then you have to let it go and let it morph into what it's going to become. And the more genuine and the authentic you can be about that, the more people will connect to you, because you are being authentic, and they can resonate with those pieces of you that are struggling with the same things that they're struggling with. And people can recognize when you are being honest, and they can smell agenda a mile away. They can smell an agenda a mile away. So do it because it's fun and it fills you with joy. So does that make sense to everyone?
Oh, we're getting lots of comments. We've had some questions.
Okay.
I'm following your lead on. I want to make sure you have enough time to get through all your material. So,
well, I don't know if I will or not, but that's all right. We'll get through most of it.
Okay. I was going to go back. Yeah, there was a 6'2" splenic projector, stay-at-home mom to 3 generators. I think that was definitely, it's like, she said, yikes.
Yeah.
Okay. Lisa is a 2/4 self-referred projector. I find when I like to just talk aloud to hear what I have to say about something, I notice people always try to give me advice instead of allowing me to come to my own conclusions. So even if I've asked for what I need, please be my sounding board, and I'm not getting heard, I just say thanks anyway, because people don't seem to understand.
You are so wise.
And Jill says, love the energy vibration info. Thank you, priceless. On Facebook, we had some questions that came in.
Okay.
Some answered. I want to just make sure Debbie was saying, thanks so much. I talk things out a lot with others and feel that they want to fix me, but that is not what I want. I struggle with this in relationships. I'm a 5'2" projector with splenic authority. Recognizing Stacy, a 4'6" emotional projector.
Mm-hmm.
And he really likes explaining the fire projector. She loves astrology and the blending. Sharon is a 4'6" emotional feeling clarity patience projector. Ooh, that's a long name. Good for you, Sharon.
Yeah.
Laura Gates says, I've been intentionally listening to what my body wants, and my food intake amount, content, etc. has totally changed. Today I have a cold and canceled meetings because my body rebelled against my mind of duty. Thank goodness I felt so relieved after canceling. My body felt relieved. Good job, Laura.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure, yes, Sue said, because Sue had a question, what is an invitation? But then later on she says, that's it. When you went through the art of the invitation, she says, this is very helpful, thank you. We projectors don't usually receive help for ourselves, do we? Now here's a question that you had brought up before from Manasi. How do you expand your aura or send that energy out? I mean, do you have any comments on how to do that?
Okay. This is from some of the energy work that I've learned over the years, and it's like it takes a little practice. I mean, part of it is you just have to become aware of your sense of aura, and it helps if you can play with other people a little bit. But if you rub your hands together and then open them a little bit and focus your attention on that space between, and you will feel something, maybe a density or tingling or warmth or something. And then if you move your hands back and forth towards each other and away, you can sort of feel that energy pulling. You can feel it moving a little bit. So that's part of your energy field. So once you become aware of that, then you can start becoming aware of where it is outside of you. And if you have another person, you can walk up to them, and you can, once you've sensitized your hands, and you can walk up to them and you can see how close you have to get before you feel something. And then once you do that, then what you can do is then step back, and if they can do the same to you, then you can step back and then you can start saying, okay, imagine your aura being, instead of like 3 feet around you, it's 6 feet around you. And then have that person, your partner, feel and see if they, if they feel something. I mean, it helps if your partner is kind of energy sensitive to it. That really helps. Other words, you can play with this. So when you want to, so once you've kind of developed the skill, then when you, all you have to really do to send your energy out is just send your intention. So it's like you can take an imaginary, it's like an imaginary, imagine your hand, growing extensively longer, an energetic hand reach out and taps that person on the shoulder. I mean, it's sort of like, you can use whatever imagery you want, but it's like you just sort of like projecting your essence outward to someone. And I don't know if I'm making any sense or not. That's a whole nother topic about how to manage and move energy.
Well, look, that's kind of almost an invitation for you on another topic, on another time.
Yeah.
Quickly, I'm going to go through. Laura Gates on Facebook says, waiting for the invitation, even pushing it away has led to a totally different flow. Hardest thing to remember in the empty phases. Melissa said she also loves the Dress Your Truth material. And also her dog also does that. And I was just, you use your dog, but it also could be it could be, if you're dressing your truth, a piece of clothing, a signature.
Yeah.
Because I've often noticed that people, when they have a signature necklace on, or for the gentleman, it could be even, the way that they have that handkerchief or something that they're wearing that could also start, or a book.
Yeah.
A book can do that too. Like you're reading, that's always a good starter. I'm just throwing that out.
Right. No, you're exactly right, Cindy. Anything that attracts that'll attract someone's attention, an external object, like you said, a book or clothing. When I first started dressing for my type, I got so many compliments. It's like it sort of overwhelmed me, So it's like, yeah, it works.
Well, especially, if you think that's a fire type, so that's a conversation. That's, you're inviting people to comment, and then that brings up your elemental talks. That's so cool. Thank you.
It's amazing how everything is so interwoven together. That's what makes it so much fun.
Corinne, Debbie also loves the Dress My Energy type. Corinne says, I'm a 2/4 projector and my daughter is a manifester. Having her with me is always so good for getting me out of my shell and getting conversation with others. Yay, Corinne.
Yes.
And Manasi says, Elaine, she tried just what you did and she totally felt it. What you did. Thank you for explaining that. And she would love to have that topic. Julie shared that there's an app called Voxer Walkie Talkie for soundboarding. So that's a possibility. I think it's Stephanie, but yes, Stephanie says, I'm a projector raised by a generator. How can I live true to myself?
That's a tricky one. Because my mother was a manifesting generator and I'm a projector. And because especially as a child, you take on the energy of your parents because, you're trying to fit in. And I think that, I don't know, I put this out as an invitation for comment to all the projectors. As children, did you always know there was something a little different about yourself? Because I knew as a child that there was something different about myself, and I worked like mad to fit in. But I didn't know what it was. And so you take on these habits as a child, they're sort of like survival techniques. And so then it gets very confusing about, because a generator or manifesting generator, they've got this work ethic, or they have this sustainable energy that they can go out. Manifesting generators they really get me going. They're hard for me to be around a lot because they're like overstimulating for me. A generator's much calmer. I can handle their energy better, but but it's like they're always doing something, busy, 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 and doing. And how, as a projector, do you understand that that's not the way you're wired? And so I don't know about how it was for, any of you other projectors, but I know for me, the only way I could get a timeout was to be sick. So I realized that wasn't a very fun way to get timeout, but I had to do it somehow. So I'd like to know, you can comment, I mean, how did you deal with your childhood as a young projector that didn't know that they were a projector? So, but I would like to move into the energy piece, because that's a really big piece for projectors, and I don't think we have a whole lot of time left. So if you don't mind,
we have 10 minutes.
Okay.
Your invitation, there were a lot of people that said that they felt like you as a childhood, and the childhood that they knew they were different and using illness, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about energy management. So this is like one of our biggest challenges, because we have variable energy. We're not like everyone else who can plug in, not the majority of people, that can plug in every day. And this is where the elements and the astrology comes in, because if you are a generator with a lot of earth energy, it's like the work ethic is like paramount, and you are supposed to plug in every day, show up every day, do your job every day, and do that for years. And so that's like, for a projector, that's like a death sentence. It's because we have variable energy. But if you don't know about this, and you're trying to prove yourself because you want to be like everyone else, and you want to fit in, and you don't want anybody to reject you, and you don't want to rock any boats because you're different, then you push yourself. And if you have a will center, or the gate 29, or open head and root center, which is going to put you under a lot of pressure, or I know some projectors that have the gate 34, which is the power gate, which means you have to do, this is a huge conundrum for them, because you have to do, because you got to expend that energy, because you have to have that energy. So when the time is right to do something, you have the energy there. That's a real dichotomy, because it's like two opposites in one chart. My father had that. And I finally figured that out, and I understand now why he died very young in what's nowadays considered young. But so there's these conundrums that are built into our charts that put us under pressure. And there's the pressure to prove that we're good enough. And there's the pressure to get things done and not let people down. If you got the 50-27, you've got this whole thing about not being responsible and not wanting to let people down, and people are counting on you. So there's all this pressure to be like everyone else, to be to sustain yourself, or to push and work just like everyone else. So that can lead to burnout, especially over time. And if you've got motors, which I mentioned about, that's the will center, the solar plexus, or the root, you can kind of get by with that a little bit longer, but either way, it's going to show up in your body and in your health somewhere along, by 40 or 50, you're going to start kind of crashing and burning and being more tired and having some illness stuff going on. And it's all about not understanding the way that projectors move energy. So our energy is variable. We take in life force from other people. So we can work twice as hard as anyone else, but then we crash and burn. So the way I like to look at the projector, the projector, is to say we're project-based. So in other words, we have short-term projects. And I've noticed that for myself, that works the best. I always think if there's something that goes on forever, I get bored I'm tired, I'm done, I don't want to do it anymore. But if it's a short-term project, it's like, yes, let's draw in all this energy, let's figure it all out, let's get it going, let's get it on its feet, and then I want to walk away. So there's this different dynamic, and that's how come projectors are really good at guiding and directing, because they know how to get this project going, and they know the steps needed to get it done. So the way we work best is if we can have a variable work schedule. Maybe it's project based. You work for 2 or 3 weeks, then you got 2 or 3 weeks off. Or maybe it's more like working half days for, a week. I mean, or, as a regular basis, half days a week. Or maybe 2 or 3 or 4 days a week, and then you have more time off. We have to work in cycles. We have to work where there's where you can expend your energy and where you can rest. And what I mean by rest is really rest. I mean, it's like laying on the couch or watching Netflix or taking naps or, doing a cleanse or doing something doing a fast, doing something that supports your body and activates the whole parasympathetic nervous system where it can rebuild and restore. Anything else? I have a friend that is a projector. He's a motors projector, so he's kind of pushing the bubble a little bit. But he says, oh yes, I rest. I go off on a motorcycle ride for the weekend. And it's like, okay, that's rest. It might be fun. It might be what he considers play, but it's not rest. So by rest, it means like really listening to your body. So to listen to your body is really, 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 really important. Projectors are said to, one of the things that's said about projectors is they don't know when enough is enough, and they don't know, they're not in very good touch with themselves. And I think what projectors do is, it's because they're other oriented, they are oriented towards other people outside themselves. They ignore what's going on inside, or they ignore their body signals because they have other factors that they're trying to work out, or they're trying to prove, or they're trying to say yes, or whatever it is that they're doing. They ignore themselves. But I believe a projector has every ability to know themselves, and they can know themselves extremely intimately, and they also know when enough is enough. They just have to choose to acknowledge that and to listen to themselves and listen to their own wisdom and apply their wisdom that they apply to other people. They need to apply it to themselves. So they need to give themselves permission to stop and rest. Listen to your body. Is your body tired? Does it want a nap? Do you want to, just to stop? Okay, and then give yourself permission to stop. Or if you're hungry, give yourself permission to eat. Or if you're tired and want to go to bed, just give yourself permission to go to bed. So there's this thing that, because the mind, here we're getting back to the mind and the heart again. The mind says, oh, we've got to do this. We've got to prove this person. We can't let this person down. We can't, we've got to get this project done. People are counting on me. Oh, whatever the stories are that we tell ourselves. But the body is saying, wait a minute, I can't do it under these terms. Give me a break. Give me a 15-minute nap, and then I can think more clearly. I mean, that's this whole relationship we need to develop with listening to our body and honoring its requests. The other thing that is really important we need to do is set boundaries. And this is a tough one again, especially if there's a lot of openness and a lot of empathy in the chart, because we don't want to rock any boats. People are counting on us. We can't let them down. We've always done this before. I can't say no now. And if we do say no, I don't want to deal with consequences. So, I mean, it's really hard to set the boundaries, but it's really important, because when our body is saying we need to rest, and somebody's saying you need to get this done, or can you do this for me, we need to be able to have the courage and the strength to say, I need to rest now. my body is not going to function if I do this. I mean, to be able to say that, even if you don't say that out loud, at least to say that in your mind and then say something out loud. So that's really important about boundaries setting. And then we need to develop self-soothing techniques. So one of the things that I think is particularly energy draining for a projector, for anyone, but for a projector, is stress. And we operate under a lot of stress just because we're different. I mean, just being different is stressful. So our stress level's already up to here. So we can become more reactive, and the more pressure that people put on us, the more reactive we get. And so we have to develop self-soothing techniques, like stepping back into the present moment and getting grounded. Maybe you can do that through breath, breathing consciously, or another technique which I'm finding it's pretty fun to do, is take and find and just to look at a neutral object, like, you know, like a curtain or something like that, and then engage the mind by identifying, okay, there's a flower here and a stem here, and the color is this, and there's this color in between, and there's 5 petals. And I mean, to actually engage the mind by identifying each item on the whatever it is you're looking at. And that kind of like calms the mind down, sort of like gets it out of, you know, and you get you back into the present moment. Because when you're ungrounded means you're not in the present moment. You're either in the past, you're in the future, you're worrying about something, or you're fretting about something that you did or shouldn't have done, or whatever it is. But being in the present moment means being in your body right now. And so being in your body right now helps activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is our healing response. And we really need that. So the other thing to do is to be aware of why, when you say yes and you really wanted to say no, or when you're working on a project and it's almost done, but you're tired, it's like, oh, I'll just finish it. No, you got to stop. You know, it's like, why are you pushing? Ask yourself that question. So, excuse me. Let's see. So, ideally,
Elaine, we're at the top of the hour.
Are we?
Yes.
Okay.
So ideally,
well,
recommendations are ideally,
a projector can work find work that is their own, that is soul driven, because when you connect and align with your soul, then you end up with life force that comes from beyond you, and it nourishes you and supports you. And so, you know, a projector can work at their own pace, because they know projectors are extremely wise about energy. They know how to manage their own flow if given permission. And they know how to listen and be very wise about their body. And they know how to get a lot of things done in a very efficient way. So I guess since we are out of time, I will just sum up by saying, I thank all of you for coming, and for all of you for sharing your wisdom with me. And we're all in this together, and we have a big job to do, because one of our jobs is we've got a lot of jobs, but one of our jobs is showing people, changing the work paradigm from the patriarchal 9 to 5, you know, plug in every day. We're here to show people how to do work differently, to help how to do more heart-based work, how to be more than doing. Our identity is not tied up in what we do. It's tied up in who we are and how we express ourselves. And this is a whole different paradigm in the work world. And we're pioneers, so we got to hang in there and trust ourselves and take care of ourselves. And so if you want to know more, you're welcome. You're invited to my website. Let me quickly scroll through the rest of the slides, and I'll show you that. It's ElaineC.com, and we can talk more. So
Thank you, Elaine.
yeah.
I posted it in the chat, and I'm posting it on Facebook. But thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank all of you for coming, and I'm so glad to, to connect with all of you projectors and anyone else, and it's wonderful. Yeah.